Well, I know the first time I saw that I was in a state of shock. I'm you guys, but we're open to any questions that any of you might have. It can be related to your own businesses or general, but we've actually implemented, I think, probably between us about 4 or 5 schemes already, and I must admit that all the employers that we've been involved with, you know, it has been quite a surprise how involved this has been. So, has anybody got any questions at all, please?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I didn't hear.
Yes,
Postponement.
You want me to explain postponement for
So
you?
you get someone new, you
Certainly.
can wait a month before you enroll. Is that
Yes,
what
so
it's
the way that
about?
postponement works is there's 2 options on postponement. You can postpone when you make your very first contribution for all existing staff. Okay, you have a staging date, which is a particular date, and what you can do is you can decide to postpone making contributions up to 3 months after that staging date. So that can obviously save potentially quite a large amount initially. What you can also do is you can use postponement for any new staff that join your company. So what will happen is the day they join, if you don't use postponement, they will be assessed through automatic enrolment. So they need to be put into that scheme in their first time, on the first time that they get paid. If you use postponement, you can take that back 3 months, so the first contribution won't go in until their 3rd pay packet.
Do you have to justify your reason for postponement?
You don't have to do that, no. It's something that's being given to you as an option by the pension regulator. So you don't need to justify that to staff.
Get someone who joins and leaves them and
Then you would.
Then you don't-
that's the whole idea.
Yeah. And I mean, another way. Yes, please.
I just want to touch, it was the mark of the time of enrolment was 49 staff,
Yeah.
or 50 staff, but I've got 49.
Okay.
At Christmas, I'll have 52, 53.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not likely to want to stay at 50, so,
No worries.
I mean,
I'll explain that for you. So what these staging dates are being based on is your PAYE reference, and that was being based on looking at how many staff you had in April 2012.
oh, we're probably all right. And the other thing is, you touched on, I think it was 833 was the point where they'd have to
Yeah.
start contributing. The next month, they're down to 500 because they'd had a busy month covering holidays. They're still paying it from that point on once they've gone over that, or they're in and out, in and out.
They'll be coming in and out. But what we can do is you can use postponement to help on this. So if you've got spikes in people's pay,
Yeah.
they're going to be assessed on an ongoing basis, but they won't be eligible until they're over that 833 figure. But what you can then use is postponement, so you could use this 3-month postponement. So when they get assessed and they're over, they won't be making a contribution in that month. The contributions won't start for a further 3 months.
Right, okay.
You'll assess them again at that point. If they're then not eligible any longer, then no contribution will be made anyway.
that month that you paid, you got the funding, you went for postponement and you had to make it.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, those people that opt out then, do you have to keep saying to them, do you want to opt back in, or we just wait for 3 years and then offer again?
You don't have to offer it to them, and then in 3 years they're automatically opting back in
And
again.
you start
And they have to then choose to opt out themselves.
At some point during that 3 years, presumably they will come back to you and say, actually, I want to join.
They can
And
indeed.
you put them in.
That's right, yes. Yes,
Could we
please.
just clarify the point the gentleman raised before about people that are eligible, they pay their first contribution because their salary is above 833.
Yeah.
The next month they're assessed and it is 500.
Yeah.
Once they've been in the scheme, my understanding is that they stay in the scheme, they just don't pay contributions if they're lower than that.
Yes, that's correct.
They don't
yes.
keep coming in and out.
No,
So
they are in a scheme, but the contributions, they're not eligible to make contribution in that
So
month.
the contributions that month are
Yes.
zero.
So
the
they wouldn't
next
end up
time
with a
they
lot
come
of different
above it,
individual
also
schemes being
included.
set up. No, it wouldn't. Yeah.
Can I ask a couple of questions? So, are you saying as an employer,
Yeah.
you have to be in?
If you're yes. So if you're an employer
So if
of a
employees
company,
don't
with-
want to opt in, but as an employer,
you can opt out yourself.
you can opt out yourself. Okay.
So if you've got a separate scheme that you're running, which you're making pension contributions to, and you want to continue to do that, you can. You'll have to automatically enrol yourself. You opt out and continue making contributions in the other pension.
Because
Okay.
you have to check with your scheme compliance, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, no, because
Because I've had that problem.
You're going to have to be in the qualifying workplace pension scheme as an employer, but you can opt out of that scheme. You can then continue to make pension contributions into whatever scheme, into whatever pension arrangement you've got for yourself on a separate note.
Not in total, but you've got two. Good enough.
They may not be good enough for auto enrolment, so you will have to be a member of an auto enrolment scheme. But if you don't want to make contributions to that scheme, you can opt out of it and continue to pay your direct debit to the other one. What, in the scheme that you've got already? If you've got a scheme already that doesn't qualify, then they won't be able to be in there. You're going to have to set up a new scheme that does qualify. Then they can opt out of the new scheme, and if you're happy to contribute into the old scheme for them, then you can do that.
And finally, is it true to say that the pensions regulator will look at the national statistics for opt-outs, and if individual employers have a big variance from that,
Yes,
that they're likely to investigate?
They certainly will. Definitely.
Well, I'm looking at the dates, and for us it will probably be October 15.
Okay.
When would you realistically need to start prepping for that? I mean, what?
We would say that the initial meetings we should be looking 12 months beforehand, because at this time I don't know your situation, so we can understand the situation. We may then defer closer at that point, but if you've got lots of schemes in place and you've got a complicated situation, you may need to start working within a year.
Okay, and has the government made any grants available for people in helping them set up for this? Is there anything anybody can apply for with a little bit of help, or is it just take?
Sort of take.
Okay. You never know, there's sometimes people giving grants that if you dig around you might get something back.
Yeah, no, we haven't come across anyone.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, just as an employee,
Yes.
say you, because sometimes within our work, our staff turnover could be, as an employee, could you start a scheme with one company and you think we're going to leave after a year? Do they take the contributions?
It depends on the scheme that they're in.
Oh, right.
Some
okay.
schemes will allow you to transfer those benefits to a new scheme, others don't allow that currently. So you may find that individuals might end up having a number of different schemes.
Oh, right, so you
Yeah.
can't take, say, actually, I've paid
The idea is for that to change in the future, so you will be able to, no matter what scheme you're in,
you
you are
could
going
end
to
up
be able
having 15 different little bits when
Yeah,
you
which is
retire.
no good. So the government have now realised that, because, for instance, Nest was in a position where you couldn't transfer in previously or out, but they're making changes, so in the future you're going to be able to have the flexibility.
What if somebody's got 2 jobs within your workplace? They work with you, you're the main, it's the main job, but they have a second job as well,
With a different employer.
with a different employer altogether.
You're just going to assess them on the money that they earn with you.
But would that employee have to do the same with the second job?
They will assess them as well.
Or couldn't they opt out of the second job or opt in with
They can do. But if they've got 2 separate jobs, it may be that they're not eligible in either, because they might not be earning enough on either of them, but combined they would be.
Yeah.
So they would have to then, if they wanted to join the scheme, opt in.
Right, okay.
And depending on their scenario, you may or may not have to make a contribution for them as an employer if they do decide to opt in. That all depends on their age and their earnings. Yes, please.
So just to clarify something earlier, so if you've got somebody who's been automatically enrolled because they earned over 833,
Yeah.
and then for whatever reason they've cut their hours or whatever, they then the next few months later they start earning £500 a month.
Yeah.
Do you then not have to take any contributions at all?
That's right, because you assess them at that point, and then the contributions won't need to come out
So even when somebody's in the system, you have to assess how much they earn each month.
every month. That's correct, yeah. Or every pay reference. If you
Every,
take a weekly,
every time you pay them, you have to
every
check.
time you pay for that, yeah.
I'm not a plant, honestly, but can non-eligible employees opt in?
They can, and it depends on which. Yes, they always can. So there's 3 categories. You have an entitled worker. So these are people that are under the age of 22 and earning less than the minimum for national insurance, so the 5772 I showed you. They can opt in. If they decide to do that, you will have to give them the ability to opt into the scheme, but you will never have to make a contribution for those if they stay within that environment. You then have another category which is called non-eligible job holder. Now these are people that are over the age of 22 but are earning less than £10,000 a year. Now, they are given the option to opt in, and if they do that, you actually also have to make a pension contribution as an employer for them as well.
And finally, is it true to say that the pensions regulator will look at the national statistics for opt-outs? And if individual employers have a big variance from that,
Yes,
that they're likely to investigate?
They certainly will. Definitely. So, I did.
Yeah, sorry, just if you have employees that are not eligible because they're under 22 but are earning over the 833,
Yes.
do you have to contribute for them?
No, that's
They can opt in,
possibly.
Only if they opt in.
but if they opt in, do you have, as an employer, do you have to pay contributions for them?
If they're under 22, you don't have to.
No, but they can still
Over.
opt in. Okay.
Is this scheme applicable to offshore companies as well?
If they're UK based but have got departments overseas, and the people that are working overseas, their main contract of employment is in the UK, then they will still need to be applied to it.
Can I just ask, if you have an existing group pension scheme, which is a contributory one,
Yes.
quite a few, I mean, would you go in the first instance to your pension provider and see if it's eligible,
See
or
if it's a qualifying scheme.
right?
Yes. I would first of all do that, and then ask if there would be wanting to take on any of the new staff as well, because what we found a lot of the times, there may be a new scheme in place, but they're saying these other staff that aren't in there yet, look, once we've assessed them and looked at the kind of profitability they're going to provide us, we don't want them. So you may, even though you've got people in there now, you may have to close that one off. And even if it is a qualifying scheme, you may want to just leave that for the people that are in there and set up a separate one for everybody else. Or you may want to just close that completely and then divert everyone to a new scheme with your contributions.
But they can't necessarily transfer from one scheme to the other.
It depends on the provider that they're with.
And if I just put in there, if it doesn't mind, I've got, this is Standard Life, and for the bit that we're charging 500 for, their initial consultation and report with a plan of key actions, they're charging 2,300. So I'll be very wary of going to existing providers. I think that probably we offer far better value for them.
And finally, is it true to say that the pensions regulator will look at the national statistics for opt-outs? And if individual employers have a big variance from that,
Yes,
that they're likely to
definitely
investigate?
They certainly